Hello and welcome to another episode of World Class Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Wall. I'm joined by Mr. Ian Macbeth. How are you, pal?
Good. We're talking off camera. We're both filming today, so we're feeling fresh. You've got a haircut for your filming, actually.
Yeah, well, I was just saying I wasn't in work yesterday. I had the day off because I was up watching the Super Bowl on Sunday night. So I had a day to myself and I looked in the mirror about midday and I was like, I need a haircut if I'm going to be on video. So we've got the videographer and photographer coming in today to do some shots for our promotional material. And I was like, yeah, I need to. Basically, the haircut nowadays makes me feel like I look a little bit younger. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give myself a little trim later on as well after this episode. So I totally feel that. You feel better on camera when you've kind of had a nice bit of a neaten up around the beard. Nice bit of the sides are nice and short. You feel ready to go. I got 3 different tops ready to go as well for different sections of the filming. So yeah, estate agency is evolved, Mark. We are in a different place. Get makeup. We have makeup done.
No, not quite that far. Although I do feel like I'm looking so white at this time of year. Maybe in the future. I wouldn't be against a bit of makeup. What about you? You got a makeup artist coming in to put the eyebrows?
No, but I do kind of joke with the new agent sometimes when they've got their film day that we'll have a makeup artist there. So make sure you got a clean face. But obviously, no, we don't.
That is a good shout. I'm gonna start using that one. But I suppose it just we didn't know when we started recording when we jumped on the call today that we were both recording today, and that's a little bit what we're gonna be talking about. But I think it goes to show that, as you said, estate agents has evolved. I'm like you. I've got another shirt and jacket downstairs for that, slightly different look at a slightly different stage of a video. And we've prepped all the team, and I think it creates a bit of buzz in the office as well. It's something a little bit different from the normal Tuesday. We always have a meeting on a Tuesday, so there's always, good atmosphere, but this will be a little bit different, a little bit more exciting, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the way that people respond to video now, and I think the way that estate agents are doing video, it's definitely a higher volume of agents that are doing video. And I think now to grab the attention, because so many small businesses are doing video, you've got to have a little angle. You've got to have a little something that's different. And I think that's the bit that we have to do is the stop the scroll. I posted just an image on LinkedIn last week, and I've got these new pair of socks for running from the National Running Show. And no one will know this, but Courtney Dahlwater is like the best female ultra runner. She has her own brand of socks, which are like gloves. So like your toes go into them, but they're like 30 quid a sock. Anyway, they had a pair at this running show. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get a pair of those. So I bought a pair. The first run I did in it, my big toe wore all the way through and there was a hole.
No.
Yeah. So I posted a photo of that as like the ultimate clickbait on LinkedIn. And in fact, a couple of people said, you stopped the scroll. And the context of the post had nothing to do with the sock. I was talking about something to do with a problem or something like that. But that is the ultimate part of the video now, is how do you stop the scroll? How do you get someone to actually go, right, yeah, I'm going to listen to what this person says, because in the first 3 seconds of the video, they're kind of engaged with the hook that you put in. So that's the big challenge.
Yeah, I was spending a bit of time at the back of Facebook Analytics actually last week, and the information that you can see on there and the drop-off rates that you can see in terms of when people watch the video and how long they watch it for and what have you. That's a really interesting thing to study and to have a look at, and then to try and improve, because you're exactly right. Our challenge on social media is to hold people's attention. And I think when we're talking about ourselves and the business, it's much harder to hold people's attention if you're showing off a wonderful property, because people are, aspirational about that. So that's definitely the challenge that we have. And I suppose really that sort of goes nicely into what we're going to talk about today, in that is, what are you saying to your clients in these promotional videos? What is your USP? I think there's one industry trainer, I can't remember exactly who it is, but she talks about, if I say she, maybe it's Sam Ashdown, but I can't remember exactly who it is, but they talk about when they were challenging an agent from the USP, and their thing, they had examples of We have bigger photos displayed on our in our window, and we're open 7 days a week. And those are just not USPs in estate agency anymore, are they?
No, no. I think people need to feel the brand. I think the brand is not the logo. It's everything that's entwined with the business. And I think in any business these days, especially your high street kind of community businesses, the local coffee shop, the local butchers, the local estate agent, the local barbers and hairdresser, the local nail bar, all of these things that kind of you see on the high street now. The reason why people will go to them is because they kind of feel a connection with something. And yeah, I think I can't remember if we said it on the Gatesy one last week, but using the hairdresser analogy, you don't go to the hairdresser because of the scissors, you go because you've got a connection with the person. So what is that connection that people have with us? Because they don't use us every other week or every 3 months. They use us maybe every 7 years. So you've got to build that connection with your marketing and with your content and with your social channels. And you've got years to play with before the client actually converts into a client from a lead. So you've got a lot of time to play with, but you can also get it really wrong, really, really wrong. So yeah, kind of we're both doing what we've kind of labeled as our down the lens, which is effectively the commercial for our brand, for our videos today, where we actually talk to the lens like we're talking to a person. So the identity is the key part of it. Is there one single thing that you want kind of Moving Works to be known as? Is there one thing that you're really trying to push as, we are labeled as this, or you want them to be labeled as this?
Yeah, without giving everything away, I think what we've done is we've gone down a bit of a data road, probably because we had Paul on and then Gatesy on, and comparing our figures and our performance with with others, with averages and that sort of thing. So we're going to have quite a data specific USP in the power of three. So we're going to say, I'm not going to say it, but we're going to say we do this better, we do that better, and we do the other better. And I feel that when you have the ability to pull out a stat and a figure and compare it against another figure, it really sets you apart, and it also allows you to potentially drop a landmine as well. In that, I know some agents will say, are you asking all agents about their performance? Because I'm sure that 9 out of 10 agents, if you give a stat, we achieve this, we do this, quicker, or we do this better, or whatever it is. If you've got that stat, I bet there's not very many agents that will have that stat ready. So I probably wouldn't say, have other agents, compared to our performance in the PAM. I'm sure some agents would, and potentially some members of my team would as well, but that's probably just a little bit too far for me. But it does allow you the ability, when you've got the stats and you're able to talk about your performance, the ability to, make yourself stand out. Because ultimately, as you say, if you are only seeing people every 7 years and they're seeing a few different agents, if you haven't built your connection and identity as strong, so you're the only agent in there, then you need to perform, well in the living room. And having some stats to back that up, I think, is a really good way of doing it.
Yeah. I think for content and for marketing and statistics and videos, someone quite high up in the sort of marketing place in the world once kind of did a presentation talking about a trust timer, and that was kind of his thing that he kind of wanted to highlight. And effectively, the trust timer is, if you imagine a clock, let's say there's kind of 12 hours on a clock, effectively, because it's not a 24-hour clock. So within that 12 hours, the goal is to have as much marketing and touch points and trust building videos, etc., out there. And the more clients and the more targeted clients that watch more of your time, if you use 12 hours as an analogy, the more time that they watch your stuff and the value in the education and the statistics and all of the bits, or you doing charity related stuff, or, you know, helping in a community group, whatever it may be, the more trust on that time that it's built. And there's a certain point for everyone. It is different. For some people, it's just 3 o'clock. For some people, it's 11 o'clock. But everyone's got a point where they go, okay, actually, I'll trust that brand or that person or that self-employed agent or the company or whatever it may be. And our goal with, as business leaders and as kind of people filming like we are today, is how many of those clocks can you have out there? How much of that trust building time can you have there? And how much volume is good quality out there that builds trust? Because if in your video, you're going to talk about, did you know this is a stat? And you're almost going to highlight that as a problem. And I'll use one of mine that I've got, which I call the hand grenade statistic, which is like the first part, basically. So in 2024 in England, 49.32% of people that listed their home exchanged. So less than half of the people that listed their house actually exchanged in England. That's a hand grenade statistic, because people were like, what? They wouldn't believe that, but that's the stat for 2024 for England. That's me identifying a problem. And then my job in the video, without selling, is to sort of highlight the problem, highlight the pain points, give the answer, the solution being my business, without saying, don't worry, it's not like that with us. Actually giving the statistical facts. That's a bit of trust time statistic. But if I just came out and just said, well, we sell more than the average, that video would just be scrolled past. There's no trust build with it. So you have to be kind of factual. You've got to have those numbers to back it up. But then you've also got to show the other side of you as well, you know, kind of what your identity is that you want to be known for. And we've always kind of been quite big on pushing the community. So like one of the marketing girls yesterday, we did a video of a coat collection for a local kids charity, because they'd put on their newsletter that they were looking for loads of warm coats for local kids. So we just did a bit of a sort of parent WhatsApp group roundup and got sort of 30 odd coats together, and then just made a bit of a fun video of us just kind of throwing them all on a table, folding them up, and then taking them down to the charity. And that's a bit of trust building on the timer.
Yeah.
3 minutes worth of trust that goes into them going, oh yeah, I like that. You know, the guys have put together 30 odd coats there, and they're going to take them down to the charity. So it's just all of those little bits that kind of go towards, you know, building who you are as a business, really.
Yeah, and I think that sounds very familiar, to be fair, Ian. But I think the trust timer is a really good way of looking at it, because you're exactly right. To get invited into the house, you have to be somewhere on the clock face, right? And there will be agents that will be further along that process. So actually, just by putting out content that is engaging and can capture the audience's attention, whatever first of all, you've got to know your audience, but whatever your audience that you're going after, to be able to build that trust with them will give you the ability. And, you know, ultimately, if you're all the way around the clock, then it's the uncontested business that we've talked about in recent years. I think the stat that you mentioned there about the national average of how many properties went to exchange is just, you know, that is a scary stat for people, because everybody likes to think that their house is going to sell itself. You know, oh, everyone loves the home. You know, how many times as agents have we heard someone say, oh no, my house isn't on the market, but it'll sell quickly.
Yeah.
Houses on this street always sell fast. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay. Yeah. If I had a quid for every time someone had said that to you, you know, you'd be doing all right. So I think that stat is, you know, like you described it as the hand grenade. I'd never thought about it like that, but that is that's a real powerful one to be talking to people about. What else have you got that you can share that you're going to be talking about on video today?
Well, the script that I'm kind of working towards is a script that was explained to me by one of the top guys at YouTube that run a lot of ads for the big kind of influencers and personal brands on YouTube. Without going through all of it, it was kind of in a section of it was inspired by the writers of South Park. So it's got some good kind of technical stuff to it, and it would take the whole podcast to explain. But you've got the hand grenade stat, you've got connecting with the individual, so kind of highlighting that we are part of the same community effectively. You know, people like us do X. So you're kind of bringing them into your circle quite sort of strategically. But one of the things that I liked is you kind of talk about the hand grenade statistic. You kind of talk about indirectly how you fix that problem. But I think the way that you get conversion at the end of the video for people to click to book the valuation or do what you want them to do and then convert on the website is highlighting that it's not perfect, because people don't believe perfection. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that's one of the pieces in this particular commercial. I'm not saying you have to do that on every video, but when you're doing a proper paid campaign to a commercial, then that's some of the things that I thought was quite nice. So for us, for example, I highlight the pain point. I say, look, this isn't perfect. You know, what we've created, there is a problem, and I'm going to share the problem with you. So people were like, okay, I'm quite interested. I mean, you probably want to know now, well, what is the bloody problem, and get to the point. So it's quite good that you kind of highlight that problem. And for us, it's the fact that we can't operate on volume. You know, there's only 10 clients that an agent can work with at any one time exclusively. We can't do what we do in terms of the statistics and the PowerPoints and the service that we deliver to clients at a mass volume like a high street office or an online agent, because it's very personal. That's why the stats are high, but it does mean that we have to have an exclusive amount of people. So we have a capacity level, which is an issue because it means we can't help the whole town that want to sell their property. We can only help 10 people at a time. So it's kind of finding what the imperfection is within your service to highlight it, but highlight it in not necessarily a negative way, if that makes sense. You're just showing your vulnerability. That works, I think, quite well because people find it quite endearing. You know, they don't want perfection because people don't believe it. You know, if an advert's too good to be true, you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. And I think that's quite a nice way to look at, especially with a estate agency. You know, we can highlight a lot of imperfections and have a bit of fun with it sometimes as well. In fact, some of my most viral videos that I've had are normally talking about, you know, in a jovial manner, some of the negatives of a estate agency, like overvaluing or tying someone into a 4-month contract. You know, you highlight that point and watch it go mental.
Yeah, and it's the same like if you're doing your videos and having the outtakes. Those are the videos that always tend to, you know, grab a bit of attention, and you know that might be, you know, there might be a bit of swearing in there if you stumble over your words. If that's bleeped out, then it just shows that you're human, and those are the types of things that build a connection and help you with, you know, the trust time, even if that is, you know, not particularly relevant or, you know, informative for people. That'll be just the entertaining bit. You know, okay, they do these videos, they're really slick most of the time, but actually, look, here they are, you know, cocking up a little bit as well.
Yeah. We've actually, I'll announce it next week, but we've got quite a big change going on with our socials, and I'll talk about it on the podcast actually, because it's quite a big thing that people will see happen this weekend. But one of the things that we've tried to do on some of the videos is we just let it run at the end, like the recording. So there's like one that I do with Neil in a kitchen, and it's a Valentine's Day video, so it'll come out on Friday. But just at the end, without thinking about it while we were still recording, I said we did all right, one take there, and he gives me a fist pump and he goes, that's how we do. And we just left that on at the end because it's quite a natural, authentic kind of bit of tongue in cheek, and we just turned it black and white at the end of the video so people knew it was kind of a little outtake. But just little bits at the end or at the start, you know, kind of when you're going into the video, why not show a little bit of the prep that you do prior to the video? Right, are we ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready? Yeah, let's hit the green button, let's see what happens, you know, kind of
born ready.
Yeah. They might not want to see that on the start of this podcast with some of the chats that we have, but it just brings a little bit of that authentic to it. So I think that's really important. Identity is a big thing, I think, for estate agents, and I've got a big list of kind of things that I try and work with new agents, and I'm just thinking we've got a new chap starting who's going to launch next month, and, you know, been in the industry for about 11 years. really cool guy, really talented estate agent, and he hasn't got kids. So it's an easy one for me to kind of say, look, we utilize the fact that you're a family man, you're a career long estate agent. It's quite a nice way with the avocado brand to plug in. But when they haven't got kids, we have to change the identity and change the narrative a little bit, because we're talking to families in our marketing. So giving him the kind of identity sheet to say, look, you've really got to work out what you want to be known as here. And in towns, I think, if we say the average town's got like, 8 estate agents, you can quickly kind of list as an agent what they're known for. That one's shit because of that, or that, or whatever it might be. That one can't keep an office open because they've never got any staff, blah, blah, blah. But in a positive way, they've got their positives as well. For us, we have to highlight, especially self-employed agents like you've got and I've got, you have to really highlight what you're known for. What's the big identity? What's that one thing that you're kind of known for?
Yeah, and it's really interesting, and that's changed quite a lot, I think, in recent years. So your trust timer, to go back to that analogy, years ago, certainly when I started, would have been board presence. Board presence still has an element of the trust timer, but it would have been you were getting into the front door because of your board presence and maybe the team's ability to convert on the phone. Probably those things are still important, but now you also have the ability to connect with people so well and build that identity through social media. So I think the whole point of today's episode was to talk about USP identity. If you are being really conscious and intentional about these factors and putting it out on video, then you need to my advice would be to sit down, have a long hard think about who you're looking to try and attract in terms of clients, and then are you appealing to them, and do they know what identity that you're trying to be put out? Do they know what you're going to be known for? Mm-hmm. And my our thing is performance. We've got behind us there are company values: authentic, commercial, exceptional. The commercial and the exceptional, those are what we think comes down in terms of performance. And then the authentic is some of those bits that you just talked about there. That's a really good way, and not something that I thought about doing actually, but I'll be telling the videographer today, just start it before, leave it rolling after. Let's give that a go, because actually that gets the authenticity across. And like I say, in this day and age, if we can build that, then we're always building towards authentic business. I want to talk about the scarcity effect that you mentioned before. So your agents, is it 10 properties at any time, the market person? Is that what you tend to work as?
Yeah, no, they don't often get to that point, but 10 properties for sale at any one time to service a property for sale. It's different in a pipeline, because you've got in your pipeline what you've got, and it's kind of a different traction that you build there. It's a different subject altogether, but I'm not a huge fan of estate agents getting heavily involved in the after sales part of it personally. I think estate agents spend too much time in the after sales element of things and overcomplicate it and actually make it sometimes worse than it needs to be. But that's just me, because I like to set an expectation, and I kind of know what's going on to sort of puppet master a transaction rather than being the kind of captain of the ship. But yeah, in terms of properties for sale, I don't think any estate agent individually can operate with more than 10 properties on the market, with viewing inquiries, with marketing strategy, the ability to service the client with feedback regularly, and just generally speaking, being able to get out there in your diary to do the appointments. In an ideal world, we had one of the guys from Dan and Neil on, and they kind of shared the way they operate, and I think you were stunned that they had about 40 properties in their pipeline, like 5 on the market. But that is because they're quite strategic in their marketing strategy, pricing, open houses in the pipeline, on Monday. So yeah, exclusivity is massive. And when I was kind of on the tools, if you like, when we started Avocado and I was trading in Bracknell and Mike was trading in Wokingham, I would always highlight that to people, especially as people kind of, once we kicked off, a lot of agents were saying, well, look, they're only like 2 guys. There's only so much they can do. And I said, yeah, absolutely, there is. And that's why I've got a cap. You know, I don't work with any more than 10 people at any one time, so that I can give you the service that, you know, your property and your move requires. And then the next question they always ask if they like me is, how many have you got at the moment? I was like, 9.
Yeah, that's a good way to seal it in the living room. That, isn't it? You know, that is the scarcity effect. Everybody, as humans, we want what we can't have. So that builds the fear of people, you know, saying, "Oh, well, actually, I'm at 10 now. You're going to have to wait." And like you say, the way that you operate, they might not be waiting very long, but they don't know that, and that then turns into the uncertainty.
And the guys and girls like really stick to that as well. You know, like I had Sanjay in the office the other day and I was chatting to him, how's it going? He's like, yeah, we're booked up for the next 5 weeks on listings, you know, where effectively the next 5 weeks they've got people booked in the diary that would love to market today, but they're like, well, we can't market your property for another 5 weeks. Are you okay with that? And obviously they want to use them so badly that they're like, yeah, no problem at all. So they've got a whole film day booked in and a marketing strategy for 5 weeks in advance. And if you think like, you know, a good bathroom fitter or a good landscape gardener, you know, they're normally booked up 2 months in advance at least, aren't they? Some of them are 6. But if you're going to sell your property right and you want to use the agent that you really trust with your move, then why shouldn't we you know, our diary be booked up 5 weeks in advance? You know, that's what we really should be in that position.
Yeah, it's a really good comparison, that, isn't it? But that landscape gardener or bathroom fitter that you talk about, they've only got a certain amount of hours in the day, and we're exactly the same. We're human, you know. And you said that other agents might say, "Oh, there's only so much they can do," but why not lean into that? You know, and it creates authenticity, but it also shows honesty. You know, you mentioned before about showing vulnerability. I can't be everything to everyone, which means that, you know, some clients aren't going to like the way that we operate, and that's absolutely fine. But this is the way that we operate. So here are my limitations. I know my limitations. Shows discipline as well, because, you know, I'm sure the team have questions from clients. Well, can we just go on now? Can you not just, you know, fit us in because we found the house that we absolutely want to buy? But if you're saying, you know, I'm sorry, that's not how it works, that shows a very disciplined operator, and it takes a very disciplined team to be able to accomplish that, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the partners has a really strict week-long strategy to launch a property, and they'll only launch one property a week because it's really important that the socials are fully engaged with that listing. You know, so they'll have the appointment done on the Monday, for example, to do the photography and the photos and the video. They'll do the live kind of what we call #BeatThePortals on the Tuesday. That's everyone's jump to kind of say, right, this is coming to the market on the Friday. They'll never put a property live on Rightmove outside of a Friday. It's always Friday morning. They will launch it to the CRM on the Wednesday. So the Wednesday, the CRM gets the full listing alert internally only. It will be on the Avocado website on the Thursday. So there's like this whole different section of like 3 tiers of exclusivity. So there's a reason to follow the socials. It's a reason to be in the CRM. And then if you're the riffraff on Rightmove, you get to see it on Friday. But there's a good chance you're back at a queue because it's already booked up for this, you know, for the following Saturday. So the next Saturday will be the open house. There's like 8 days of building.
The riff-raff on Rightmove. Love it. And the whole point of that, because I hate launching a property on Rightmove on a Friday, so just bizarre, but the whole point of that is I've got my strategy that I communicate with my clients, which would be different to the strategy that your guy communicates. But the whole point is you've got a strategy. So some people might say, we launch property on a Saturday because no one else does, or we launch all of our properties on a Wednesday for whatever other reason. But the whole point is, if you're sat in the living room talking to a client, you then say that this is how we operate, this is how we want it to do, and suddenly they can see. We talked before about disciplined, but you know what you're doing, and you've got that. They're not going to know the ins and outs of the effectiveness of that strategy, whether it's a different day or whatever. The whole point is you've got a strategy, you've got a plan, you know, and we know what you're doing. You're then accountable to us for that. So if he missed the beat the portals, for example, then he's fallen down there, and there'd have to be a very good reason for that, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's that whole tick box, you kind of like, it's almost why a cooling off period is like a really fair thing to have. It's like, I'm going to do this over the next week. And the client's like, I love that. And then if you don't do it, the client will go, well, you didn't do it, so we're not going to use you. And that's totally fair. I totally respect that. And I think that's a really nice way of, it's the same thing with anything that you buy that's got a cooling off period. It's like, well, if you're going to do this, I'm not asking you to go over and beyond. I'm not expecting a welcome to avocado balloon on the doorstep 24 hours later. Just do what you said you're going to do.
Good idea, though.
It's a great idea. Yeah, it'd probably blow away in this weather, but hey ho. But it's a simple expectation of, we're going to do this. Okay, well, just do what you said you're going to do. That's literally the level of standard we have to be in agency, is say, we're going to do these 7 things and then just do them. And that's all we've got to do to be better than the average.
Yeah. And I often talk about that unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for us, the industry that we're in, the bar is low. So actually, as you say, do what you say you're going to do is, I think, still fairly unique in our industry. If you're going to ring them at 5 o'clock, ring them at 5 o'clock. If you're going to do beat the portals on Tuesday, do it on Tuesday. And as you say, it helps build trust and cement the relationship. But actually, if someone turns around and says, well, I don't want to use you because you didn't do what you said you're going to do, you can't be upset about that, because we're all adults. And if you say to your mate that you're going to, go and play football with him and you don't turn up, you would expect him to be upset. It's exactly the same with work. If you don't perform it the way that you say that you're going to perform, then you can't. We can't promise somebody that we'll sell a house for a certain price that they want. You can't tell them exactly how long it would take to sell. And people will always ask you those questions. And if you turn around and say, oh, we will absolutely sell your house for the full asking price and we're going to achieve it in 2 weeks, then you're setting yourself up for a fall. And I'm sure was it Dan and Neil?
Yeah.
I'm sure even Dan and Neil in their pitch, even though they've got the process laid out very effectively, I'm sure they won't guarantee anybody that they'll achieve the same results as their averages, because if they did, they would have egg on the face.
It's the only thing we can't guarantee, isn't it? That we can sell the property. We can guarantee that we'll contact them within 6 hours of a message. We can guarantee that we'll do every single viewing. We can guarantee that the marketing will go out on X day. We can guarantee that we'll run a paid ad campaign to the property, or we'll be involved in the transaction, or whatever it is. We can guarantee we'll do that, because it's part of the things that we can action. But we can't guarantee that we'll find them a buyer.
Yeah, exactly. You should never say that to a client, in my opinion.
No, but they do. I think also the thing that we spoke about, because you said, look, I would never launch a property on a Friday, which makes sense because your diary structure doesn't allow you to then service the inquiries that come in. So however you're doing your strategic marketing, it's important that your diary links back, and that goes back to that kind of vulnerability. I will, if we use that example for the avocado partner that does do that, what I know about his diary is he follows the principle that I've followed for many years, that I kind of taught the gang, which is to bookend your diary. So he will very much stick to the process of, there's no appointments on a Monday before 1 o'clock, and there's no appointments after 12 o'clock on a Friday. So he launches that property on a Friday, but then from 12 till, obviously there's no opening hours, so from 12 o'clock on a Friday, there's no appointments in his diary. So the bulk of inquiries will come across that Friday. He's able to instantly deal with the viewings, and then he's set for the weekend, to rock and roll, basically. And if there's appointments that come in on a Saturday, he's very easily able to kind of WhatsApp them and get them booked in for the open house. And if it's going to pop, because a house when it's like, right, this one's going to go bonkers.
Yeah.
It's just get that preset open house for 5 hours or whatever it is, And it's very much a case of having a simple message. Look, the open house is next Saturday. Can you give me a few more bits of information? Bomb, 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 bomb. Engaging conversation. And then you kind of, you're in control of it. People just want to have contact, don't they? They just want to know that no one else is looking at it before they get to look at it. And if you put everyone in the same bracket, an open house, then everyone's okay. No one's seeing it before, don't worry.
No one's going to get to buy it before you get to see it.
Yeah. Other than maybe a local that's got a house to sell that I really want, that's prepared to pay me $2. But we don't tell that.
You got a week to sell it.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, I'll be interested to see some of the outtakes, Mark, from yours. I'll share you some of my outtakes. Maybe we'll put them in we'll put some of our own outtakes on the World Class Real Estate socials for people to see how we got on today.
Yeah, we would have had some good ones from last week when your internet went down completely.
I don't mind an outtake. I just laugh it off and keep going. You know who's the worst for outtakes actually is Dan. He's so stoned with it. If he makes a mistake, he just carries on. There's no like enjoyment in it. It's like if you make an outtake, swear, do something. Kicking around and like you need a little bit of that. So just bear that in mind if you cock up today on camera.
Yeah, I will. I will do. Hopefully, that's been useful for people. I think one of the big things that I'll take away from our chat is that we're talking about USP or what's your identity in this. The whole thing, and even down to what you just talked about, your strategy and your diary, it's got to be done with intention. You've got to enable yourself a bit of thinking time, a bit of planning to be able to hit this. So, like you say, if your strategy is launch on a Friday and you want an early dart every Friday, then that ain't going to work, is it? So it's about knowing what you want, and if you're employed, it's a little you're in a slightly different box, but still there are always levels to this. You can always design it however your working week is scheduled. But if you run your own diary, then you're more flexible to say, right, well, actually, I want to go to the gym there, but I will work there instead. So then I'm going to fit that in and I'm going to do that. So I think there's a lot of this that can be done successfully as long as you put a little bit of thought to it. And the main thing is to have an identity, to have a USP that you are communicating with clients to help build that trust and help, that is going to help you achieve better fees, get more instructions, and connect with the local community much better. Those are the things that we're looking to do as agents, that we're looking to stand out. But actually, these are the things that will help. And there's no better way than a bit of video to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think each estate agent, when you're doing your content, just remember that you want to be showing yourself as that specific tool for that specific thing. You never want to be the Swiss Army knife where you're kind of saying, we do all of these things, because no one really cares. If I'm changing a plug, a fuse in a plug, I'm not going to the toolkit and pulling out the Swiss Army knife. I'm going to get a screwdriver. In the same way, if I'm going to cut down a tree, I'm not getting a Swiss Army knife for that tiny little saw on the end. I'm probably getting a chainsaw, to be fair. So it's just remembering, what do you want to be seen as? Which tool or tools, you could be 2 or 3, do you want to be in the toolbox specifically? So yeah, hopefully people enjoyed it. Check out next week's, because I'm going to drop some bombs. People won't believe what we're doing this week, and I'm going to share it on this podcast exactly what the strategy looks like. So
and hopefully by this time next week, I will be in my new house with a bit of luck. So
exciting.
I will report back on that in next week's intro. As you know, we do this because we love our industry. We want to see it improve and get better. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it out on social, share out with colleagues. I'm Mark Worrell. He's Ian Macbeth. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.